Good evening, everybody. Today is 26th February, Saturday, 6 p.m. and I am Rajesh Dalmia from Masterstroke. Today, the topic I'm going to talk about is how to select funds, equity funds and debt funds primarily, and then we will talk about some balanced advantage. But balanced advantage fund is a mixture of debt and equity, so we'll keep limited to how do you select equity funds and how do you select debt funds. I will give you some ideas and I will use Masterstroke mutual fund research to explain it to you. Okay. And if you have any question, you can write me in the chat box. I will read those questions and answer those queries to you. Okay. Do post your question. The challenges that you face. Challenges that you face to select a fund, and I will answer those queries today. Link fail. Thank you. So I will tell you how to select a fund by using MF research section of Masterstroke. So it will help you decide. If you are a premium member, you can use this. If you're a basic member, you can use this but can't save, download. So you should become a premium member, or you can use any other website. I strongly suggest to use Masterstroke. So let's start. So let us talk about the first category, large cap fund. Okay, so let us say कि आपको एक large cap fund identify करना है. The first step of selecting a fund is to decide the asset allocation of the client, risk profile of the client. और एक बार आपने ये डिसाइड कर लिया कि क्लाइंट को क्या देना है, कौन सी कैटेगरी ऑफ फंड्स देने हैं, then I will tell you how to select the funds. But before that, how do you decide कि उसको कौन सी कैटेगरी का इक्विटी फंड बेचना है? मेरा आंसर ये है कि अगर आप कंफ्यूज्ड हैं तो आपको 50 to 75% लार्ज कैप, मल्टी कैप और फ्लेक्सी कैप देना चाहिए. 50 to 75% of the portfolio you should have large cap, multi cap and flexi cap. If you're very sure that the client is for 10, 15, 20 years, young client, moneyed client, SIP client, कोई problem नहीं है volatility से उसको, then you can go for small cap and mid cap also higher. But still, I will not suggest you to go more than 50% in mid cap and small cap. I would suggest to keep a very high percentage of large cap, flexi cap, and multi cap, because higher risk does not mean higher returns. When you invest in small cap and mid cap, risk is more, but return may not be there. It can be there in long term, but some of your clients may not stay for long term and they will panic, they will redeem, they will leave you. So many things can happen. So considering all this, you should go for large cap, multi cap, and flexi cap. Sector funds should be avoided unless and until you are very sure about the risk profile of the client. Okay, so for equity funds, this is the thumb rule. I will come to debt funds later. Let us say now you have to decide which large cap I should choose. Okay, so I will tell you. So go to Masterstroke, for example, or any other website. And these are the funds in the large cap category. Now, how do you decide which is the best fund or the fund that you want to choose? There are no fixed rule, first of all. You can choose any. But if I were you, how would I select a fund? I will tell you. So these are the columns which are there. Okay. And now I will also add, let's say, a 10-year performance. So go to this, go to 10-year performance. These are good numbers. And so now when you see, you index on 10-year performance. If you see the worst performance was 9.42% and the best performance is 16.36%. My suggestion is that go for the mid section. First filtration of the 10 years should be this mid section. You start somewhere here. That funds which have delivered, let's say, between 12% to 14% is a good choice. Okay. You can eliminate funds who have given far lower return even in 5, 7, 10 years period. This is the first filter, because any fund which did not perform the scheme average should not be treated as a very good fund house. Now, if you see, most of the funds have given between 12% to 14%. And this is a very important factor. इसका मतलब ये है, the meaning is that no matter which of these funds you choose, 1, 2, 3 years doesn't matter. In 10 years, almost everybody has given you the same return. This is very critical. It means selection of fund is not so easy that you will choose the right fund and returns will be very high. Now, so to eliminate the worst 5-7 funds from the bottom list, these funds. Okay, so let's say up to 10.77%. Unless and until their philosophy has changed and you want to believe in that fund house, then of course that is fine. So go from here to here. This is the first filter. Then you should also see the volatility in the 5-year period. यहाँ पे भी 5-year period में देखिए, the number one fund is 16.61%. And this fund has given 7.91. So again, you can start filtration that I will ignore these 3-4 funds. There is no fixed rule, but if you want to do real research, this is how you should do. And then you filter the schemes in the sense that which are the funds which have given 12% to 14% in 5-year also, which are consistent. So 10-year return, 12 to 14%, 5-year return, 12 to 14%, and then you can come to the last 1 year. In case the last 1 year return is bad, let's say this category, but the long-term return is very good, then this should be your first choice. The worst performing last 1 year scheme should be a good choice. If the 5-year and 10-year return of that particular scheme is very good, it means the fund is consistent over 5-10 years. Their scheme did not do very well in the last 1 year, but they will bounce back because the track record of 5 and 10 years is very good. Okay. So let's say this is a 15-year fund. Let me give you an example. This is a 15-year fund, SBI Blue Chip, which has given 15% in 10 years, but last 1 year is only 8%. Whereas the number one fund in the last 1 year is 17%. It means SBI did not do very well in the last 1 year, but their track record over 5 and 10 years is very good. And so you should dig more. You should see the comparison and the top holding of the fund. And if you feel that the stock selection of this fund is good, then this is a good bet. This is just an example. Doesn't mean that you should immediately select this. It is not necessary that you should select this fund always, which has given the best return in the last 1 year. It is generally not a very good idea because we have seen the schemes which work very well in the last 1 year may not do very well in the next year. That is different. This is applicable for equity. And if you see that this 17% last 1 year return has been given, and this a part of this 1 year performance also reflects in 5-year and 10-year. In this particular case, this is good, and this is also good. It means this can be a good choice. But if 5-year is not good, 10-year is not good, only 1 year is good, then this may not be a good choice. Okay. Am I on the right track? Do you think it is making sense and you are understanding? Please write yes or no, or it is confusing. I would like to have your opinion so that I can move ahead. Okay. So don't go with last 1 year return of 16% and 14%. For example, let's take an example that this fund has given 12% in the last 1 year, but their long-term return is also very average. So this may not make a lot of sense for you. Okay. So even if last 1 year return is bad, but last 5-10 years is good, that fund makes a good choice. It means that fund is available at a cheaper price today because the underlying securities of that scheme has not delivered return in the last 1 year. Doesn't mean that they are wrong, bad schemes. It is just that it will take some more time, and next year or next to next year they should do better. The next filter should be expense ratio. Once you have identified 4 or 5 funds, then see which has the lower expense ratio and which one is higher. And of course, you should choose the top 10 scheme or 5 scheme from the expense ratio. For example, Axis Blue Chip Fund has only 1.58% expense ratio. Now, if it comes down to the fact that you have identified 4 schemes on the basis of performance, and all those are more or less equal, then expense ratio should be the reason that you should eliminate a couple of those funds, because this is a direct cost to the client. 0.5% more. Let us say this fund versus this fund, even if the performance is same, they are charging 70 paisa more. It reduces the return of the client. So, and this is fixed. Performance is not fixed, but the cost is fixed. So this is one of the reasons that you have to select this also. Now, so you have to apply the same philosophy in every category of equity funds. Expense ratio do not keep changing very often. It changes only when there is a huge inflow or outflow in a fund, which generally doesn't happen. So keep a watch on that, Geeta. Okay. Expense ratio I have told you. Now let us say the case of Flexi Cap funds. This is very interesting. Apart from all the reasons I have told you, in Flexi Cap Fund, one of the filters that you should apply is this. Let me eliminate some of the things so that it is easier for you. What is the large cap and mid cap and small cap holding in a Flexi Cap? Let's say these are the funds in Flexi Cap category. Let me remove the large cap from here. Okay, these many Flexi Cap, too many, huh? And then you see which large cap Flexi Cap has the highest small cap. Now, Nippon India Flexi Cap has 29% small cap holding. Now, here it depends upon your personal choice. Now, do you want to take higher exposure in a Flexi Cap fund, in a small cap or mid cap fund? If yes, then this should be your choice. If you want a lower exposure of mid cap and small cap in a Flexi Cap fund, then you should do the filter and see that only 1.5% is in Kotak Flexi Cap. Okay, so it depends upon your personal choice. Because in a Flexi Cap fund, of course, it depends upon the fund house, but you have to apply your own filter. For example, I may not go for a Flexi Cap fund, which has a very high small cap. In that case, I will go for a small cap fund or a different fund or a multi-cap fund. Okay, so this is one filter you have to apply. And let's say you are looking for a Flexi Cap fund, which has, let's say, around 75% of the large cap. So you come to this particular section. So you eliminate these funds because this 86%, for example, is not a Flexi Cap fund. It is actually a large cap fund. So there's no point investing in this fund for the time being because it's better to choose a large cap fund. Now, again, if you believe that this particular fund house says that we will change the strategy after 3 months, we don't like into mid cap, small cap, then it's your personal call that you want to test that company or not. Because there's no point investing in a 90% large cap holding in a Flexi Cap. You better go for a large cap fund in that case. So this is one reason that you can select the portfolio. In the same manner, let's say multi-cap. So you go to multi-cap. Again, you have the same large cap, mid cap, small cap. So in this case, multi-cap, Axis multi-cap only has 10% multi-cap, small cap. So you can decide on this basis whether you want to take this fund or not. Now, let me go to small cap. I want to again emphasize on the fact that long-term return, if you see small cap, 3-year, let me take 10-year return. 10-year and 5-year return. Forget about small cap, mid cap here. Many of you think that the small cap delivered very good return in the long term. But if you see this chart, many of the large cap schemes have delivered this much return in the last 10 years. These number of schemes have delivered very good last 10-year return. And it is also because last 1 year has been exceptional for the small caps. But any fund that you choose, you see, there is nothing to be differentiated between these 5 funds. All of them have given almost similar returns. So the point is, excessive mutual fund research will not result in excessive returns to your client. Maybe you can go wrong. So do your research, but do not try to pinpoint the right scheme and the best scheme. There's nothing called the best and the right scheme. As far as you're in any of these 5 funds, it looks good. Now, again, you see here, last 1 year return. In all these 5 cases, the last 1 year return is also almost the same. In this particular case, if I eliminate the name of the scheme, this scheme has given 40% in the last 1 year. Others have given 26% and 31%. My choice will be this fund. Because last 1 year, which the returns of the fund which has delivered lower return, but their long-term returns are good, makes a good choice. This is not the only criteria, but one of the very good criteria you should use. Okay, large, mid, and small I have told you. And then what you can do is that, let's say you apply this filter of the fund houses. All of you don't work in all the fund houses. The first filter you should apply is that which fund house I want to sell. Let's say I'm just randomly choosing these 5-7 fund houses. And so first of all, the first criteria should be the fund house. You eliminate the fund house which you don't relate with और जिसको आप नहीं बेचेंगे. तो फ्लेक्सी कैप में ये 5 कैटेगरी लेटर से बच गए. This is just a sample. तो इससे आपका रिसर्च पैरामीटर और स्मॉल हो जाता है and you can identify a scheme in a better way so that you can choose only with the, let us say for example, I sell only 10 fund houses or 8 fund houses. So I don't even look at the entire data of AMCs which I don't sell. So I just filter on the AMC और उसके जो 10 फंड में जो भी हमारा 1 year, 3 year, 5 year रिटर्न है एक्सपेंस रेशियो, उसके बेसिस पे मैं उस फंड को आइडेंटिफाई कर लेता हूँ. Another category I will show you is Flexi Cap Fund. Let's say you choose a Flexi Cap Fund. How do you decide which fund you should choose in a Flexi Cap? Focused fund. One of the prime reasons of a focused fund is, let's say, the number of stocks. So I will put this filter number of stock here. Now, if you see, these are the focused fund in the business, and I will click on number of stock. So JM Core 11 only has 11 stocks. It means it's a truly focused fund. Whether you like it or not is a different question. But this is a truly focused fund. Now, if this 44 crore criteria doesn't match, then you have to eliminate it from here. You remove this slab of 500. So JM will go away. So you decide which AUM range you want to sell. So you can do multiple ways of research that which scheme looks good to you. Now, let's say UTI focused fund has 30 stocks in a focused fund, and you believe that 30 is good, then you should compare with this. If you think I would like to invest in a focused fund which has only 15-20 stocks, then your only choice is these two schemes, Invesco and Motilal. This is how you need to filter your scheme. And you don't have to do it every month. For a particular category, you can decide once in 6 months the scheme that you want to sell and continue selling that scheme, because nothing changes in 3 to 6 months time. So sit down on a Saturday, Sunday, do this research of which category में कौन सा fund house आप बेचते हैं, उसमें 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, 10 year return, number of stocks, expense ratio, AUM कितना है. As a personal choice, you may not like to sell 50,000 crore, or you may not like to sell 500 to 750. Reduce the category of funds and then you start making the selections. This is how you do this. Let us come to the debt category. So we will eliminate the debt now. Equity will go to the debt category. Let's say you want to select banking and PSU fund. How do you do this? So banking and PSU fund के अंदर में जब आप जाते हैं debt fund में, तो आपको यहाँ column में से आपको ये 3 category choose करनी होगी, YTM and modified duration. These two are very important category, and you eliminate 10 year and 5 year return. Maybe you can have 6 months, 1 year, and 3 year, and you can have expense ratio here. So this is the screen you should work for a debt fund. AUM, of course, performance. You can also, so I can go on for 2 hours, but I have to finish it in 20 minutes to give you the basics. Of course, so I missed out one thing. In the equity, I will go back again. I missed out on one thing. Of course, you're right. One of the filters you can apply is this ratio, PB ratio and P ratio. So let's say Tata India Consumer Fund has a PE of 76 in the fund. Whether you like it or not is your personal call, and then you can select the fund or eliminate the fund. And you can see, oh, I've selected all the funds. Let me do a particular category here. So let's say large, mid cap, or focused. Let's say select two, 3 categories here, and you want to select any fund from here. So you do the PB ratio. So the minimum PE ratio is 28. This is the cheapest fund available. And then you go into Parag Parikh underlying portfolio statements, that whether you like the stock or not. So this and this PB ratio is 5 to 5.78, which is also among the lowest. The PB ratio is 3.52. So in that case, HDFC Flexi Cap is a very good fund. It is cheap. Of course, cheap doesn't always mean that it will give you the best return. But then again, you have to apply your various filter for your comfort, which fund you want to sell. Okay. And you can do for standard deviation alpha also. We will not cover that in this session today. Okay. So coming to the banking PSU fund, I will eliminate this number of stock, PB ratio, this, and I will go to the YTM and modified duration, go for 6 months, 1 year, and 3-year return. Now, in an interest rate rising scenario, you need to do this, filter modified duration. If the interest rates are going up and you choose modified duration, it means that Axis Banking PSU fund will have the lowest volatility. And ICICI Banking and PSU fund will have the highest volatility. I don't say Axis is better or ICICI is better. It depends upon your personal call, whether you want to bet on interest rates going up or going down, and you want to reduce the risk of the client and give them lower return, or you want to increase the return by taking higher risk of higher modified duration. Okay, and now you can again filter the YTM, of course, and here is the expense ratio. Let us say that these two schemes have the same YTM. Let us say, let me give you an example. Okay, I will give you this example of 4.96 and 5.19. So Franklin and SBI has almost the 20 paisa difference in the return, and the cost is 30 paisa. In this case, as a first filter, Franklin India Banking PSU is a better fund because their expense ratio is lower and YTM minus expense is better. Of course, this no single logic holds. Sometimes a lower YTM will deliver better returns, risk-adjusted return than a higher YTM, but you don't know how it will pan out in the future. So you have to see the historical performance, that what is the 3-year return, 1-year return, 6 months return. Accordingly, you have to sell. So when selecting a debt fund, use this screener of master stroke, YTM, modified duration, and 1 to 3 years. And then let's say you selected that, okay, I will select Axis or DSP and IDFC. Let's say you want to focus on these 3 funds. Let us know. And no, this will be a wrong. I will do it like this. Okay. So an SBI. So now in this case, if you see the YTM, and now you click here YTM, it means all these 3 YTMs are almost the same. So there's hardly any difference. Expense ratio is hardly a difference. And so 1 3-year returns is IDFC banking 3-year return is better. So on a nutshell, in a very simplified manner, in these 3 scenarios, IDFC looks to be a better bet for banking and PSU in terms of all the ratios when you see here. Now it can be your personal choice, and the fund size is also very large, which is very decent. Okay, I'm just doing a random check. SBI is high on YTM. So if the YTM is high, you have to check the credit quality of the fund by looking at the portfolio and the expense. So while the returns are high, the expense is high. So it means it will not deliver higher return. And then you see the performance. 1 year is 6 months, 1 year is almost the same. So in this particular case, SBI banking and PSU can be a good fund, but on the ratio analysis and all the parameters which you are looking at, IDFC looks to be a better choice. Please do not sell schemes which I am just marking it right now. There are many other parameters which I consider and you should also consider. Just an example I am giving you, and no fund house would take offense of this presentation. Okay. Now, let us take the case of gilt funds, which is very interesting. Gilt fund. Again, the same logic applies, that modified duration of gilt fund. This is a risky fund because if interest rates go up, then this can go down a lot. Kotak gilt fund is on the lower side of the modified duration. It means the volatility will be lower. But if you see the returns, the return differential is almost 50 paisa in ICICI and Kotak. So if you're investing for next 5-7 years, your choice could be ICICI gilt. If you're investing for 1 year, Kotak could be your choice in a gilt fund. This is how you should examine. And of course, the expense ratio also. So in this case, if you see IDFC gilt fund has an expense ratio of 40 paisa, and then you decide how much commission you want and which expense ratio fund you want to sell, because you also needs to be compensated. You have to make a trade-off. So whether you will sell Nippon Gilt India, which has a 1.56% expense ratio, or of 0.9% of HDFC gilt. Let us look at one more category before I stop. Let's look at some category which is very much sold, short-term funds. Let me check short-term funds, short duration funds. Now again, you click on various parameters that which are the funds which has given you very well return. So now you see in the category of short-term fund, HDFC short-term has delivered 7.88%, whereas UTI has delivered 4.67%. Maybe because of segregated, which is a one-off event, I will consider. And this fund has given 6.46. So within 3 years, if a fund is consistently topping 7% plus, this should be your first filter. And then you should also see what is the current YTM, 5.34, which is better than 4.85. So this again is a good choice, it means. Then you have to see the expense ratio. I see the expense ratio is also lower in this case. It means in all parameters, it seems like HDFC is doing very well. Okay. So no one parameter will do. Again, modified duration, there is hardly anything to choose from. 1.39 to 2.27, not much difference. Not much difference. Okay. So there are a lot of things that you can do with MF research, and you don't have to do this on a daily basis. You can do this once in every 6 months time, identify a few funds, and keep reviewing once in a while that whether your choice is right or wrong. So this is, I will stop here and I will take your questions now, because this cannot be covered in half an hour time. It will take maybe a day to decide various parameters, but I want to give you some basic idea of how do you select a debt fund or an equity fund. Thank you so much.